test the stream. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Okay, alright. So I got this headset thing, and it works perfectly. I only really have a couple complaints with it. First of all, if it's, I have this thing for a headache. It's yeah, I know it looks like the dude Granola. I haven't read that arc yet. I've been waiting for Super to catch up. My head hurts too much to read manga these days. I saw it in Little, and it's a heated eye mask, so it's supposed to go like this, and I wear it like that sometimes. It's got heat, and it's leather or pleather or something, and it's got heat, and it's got vibration, and it also has this sound. Here, let me play it. Which it's a nice calming music, and that's nice. It sounds like a spa, and that's great and all. But the problem with that is I use this for a migraine, and sound is not a migraine's friend. See, it just amped up in volume, and now my head fucking hurts. So, Purify, you make a good product, but if you're trying to steal my information by having me connect to Bluetooth, I'm not going to be a happy person. I'm just saying. Additionally, the thing turns off way too soon, and I haven't figured out how to make it stay on or whatever. But I don't know. Either way, it's kind of nice. Whenever I have to do stuff, I kind of wear it on my forehead, and the vibrations and the heat helps it a lot. The battery lasts pretty long, but it just shuts off over and over again, which is a pain. But it's not that big a deal. Anyway, thank you, Purify, whatever your company name is, for this little device. It wasn't very expensive, but it has helped me a lot. I've been having recurring migraines since I fractured my skull in a stupid accident where I wasn't paying attention, and I got hit in the head with a piece of steel on a machine, and it fractured my skull, and now I'm basically an idiot. They said my IQ dropped to like the 130s or something. I don't know, but that was pretty close to my brain injury. I've recovered a lot, and the pain is incredibly distracting. But it doesn't last forever. I'm tired of taking medication for it, as in the pain medicine, because there's always side effects. A lot of times, like when they were given, like, here's the thing, right? For all you who have had surgeries and injuries, right? The first time I was ever prescribed Percocet was in the military. I think I had my wisdom teeth removed. All 4 of them at once. I was in military training, and I had to not miss any class, like, for 4 days, or I would have had to restart. And that began my medical journey with opiates. One thing I learned about opiates, I don't know how they work in you, but when I take fucking opiates, I turn into a fucking prissy bitch. And I don't mean prissy as in As in, like, girly? I mean, like, the one where I just get real agitated with everything and I bitchy, like, just, I noticed it because every time it's hard to get off of Percocets or stuff, but usually, like, I'd be off a profile and I'd go for a run or something, and then that first time I would puke, everything would be fine. Like, after that first time I would puke, I wouldn't have any more, like, bitchy withdrawal or anything. And I've had so many injuries and surgeries from the military. I had a jaw surgery one time where I was just stuck in the barracks with my jaw wired shut, and they were giving me liquid Roxicet, and I just felt like, oh my god, it was a fucking fever dream or something. It was the most insane shit. I felt like such a bitch. It was miserable. I was stuck in this fucking barracks room, and all my friends were busy, and most of my friends were work friends or martial arts friends, so it's not like I had any visitors. I did have one visitor that I was super thankful for, my girlfriend at the time. So she was life-saving in that, because I was not doing too well. I was panicking, man. I couldn't eat food. Like, I ate a can of chicken noodle soup, and I had to go to the fucking hospital. I had to call one of my work friends to take me to the hospital because it made my mouth swell up like crazy. I was just drinking protein powder. I had to drink protein powder for like 45 days well, at first it was 45 days. I was on an all liquid diet for 45 days, and my face was all swollen up, and that was right before I met her parents. So I was recovering from that surgery when I met her parents, and I was on all kind of opiates from the pain. It was a son of a bitch. They did a nerve block on me for the pain because I woke up feeling as if I had been smashed to bits. And it was the most insane amount of, like, it was crazy. And they did this nerve block on me in my jaw, and it just went away. But I couldn't read anymore after that. Like, a friend of mine gave me this game to play, Persona, and I couldn't play any games anymore. I couldn't focus on the games. I couldn't focus on television. I couldn't read books anymore. It was a son of a bitch, man. Like, I lost all of my leisure activities from that surgery. And I had a traumatic brain injury like a year later that it didn't make things easier, but it was from the jaw surgery that I lost a lot of my fucking reading ability and stuff. Well, it was like 2 different levels. So what I'm saying is, if you can avoid taking an opiate, you'll make yourself happier, and everyone around you will most likely be happier, because when I took opiates, I was just an agitated little bitch, dude. And it wasn't a fun time. I don't recommend anyone take opiates because it's awful. And anyway, that's just my experience. Anyway, let's read a chapter of War and Peace. Page 75, chapter 27. At the appointed hour, the prince, powdered and shaven, entered the dining room where his daughter-in-law, Princess Mary, and Mademoiselle Bourienne were already awaiting him, together with his architect, who by a strange caprice of his employers was admitted to table, though the position of that insignificant individual was such as could certainly not have caused him to expect that honor. The prince, who generally kept very strictly to social distinctions and rarely admitted even important government officials to his table, had unexpectedly selected Michael Ivanovich, who always went into a corner to blow his nose on his checked handkerchief, to illustrate the theory that all men are equals, and had more than once impressed on his daughter that Michael Ivanovich was not a whit worse than you or I. At dinner, the prince usually spoke to the taciturn Michael Ivanovich more often than to anyone else. In the dining room, which like all the rooms in the house was exceedingly lofty, the members of the household and the footmen, one behind each chair, stood waiting for the prince to enter. The head butler, napkin on arm, was scanning the setting of the table, making signs to the footmen, and anxiously glancing from the clock to the door by which the prince was to enter. Prince Andrew was looking at a large gilt frame, new to him, containing the genealogical tree of the princes Bolkonsky, opposite which hung another such frame with a badly painted portrait, evidently by the hand of the artist, belonging to the estate. On a ruling prince, painted portrait, evidently by the hand of the artist, belonging to the estate, of a ruling prince, and a crown, an alleged descendant of Rorik, and ancestor of the Bolkonskys. Prince Andrew, looking again at that genealogical tree, shook his head, laughing as a man laughs who looks at a portrait so characteristic of the original as to be amusing. See, shut off already. But it wasn't very expensive, so it's not a big complaint. How thoroughly like him that is, he said to Princess Mary, who had come up to him. Princess Mary looked at her brother in surprise. She did not understand what he was laughing at. Everything her father did inspired her with reverence and was beyond question. Everyone has his Achilles heel, continued Prince Andrew. Fancy, with his powerful mind, indulging in such nonsense. Princess Mary could not understand the boldness of her brother's criticism and was about to reply when the expected footsteps were heard coming from the study. The prince walked in quickly and jauntily, as was his wont, as if intentionally contrasting the briskness of his manners with the strict formality of his house. At that moment the great clock struck 2, and another with a shrill tone joined in from the drawing room. The prince stood still, his lively glittering eyes from under their thick bushy eyebrows sternly scanned all present and rested on the little princess. She felt, as courtiers do when the Tsar enters, the sensation of fear and respect which the old man inspired in all around him. He stroked her hair and then patted her awkwardly on the back of her neck. "I'm glad to see you," he said, looking attentively into her eyes, and then quickly went to his place and sat down. Sit down, Michael Ivanovich." He indicated a place beside him to his daughter-in-law. A footman moved the chair for her. It was not unusual on large estates for a proprietor to have painters, musicians, etc. from among his own serfs. That makes sense. A good leader is going to develop his people. Even if they start as farmers, they shouldn't stay that way. A true leader develops his subjects or subordinates or whatever you want to call in whatever area of leadership we're discussing. "Ho, ho," said the old man, casting his eyes on her rounded figure. "You've been in a hurry. That's bad." He laughed in his usual dry, cold, unpleasant way, with his lips only and not with his eyes. "You must walk as much as possible, You must walk as much as possible, he said. The little princess did not wish to, hear his words. She was silent and seemed confused. The prince asked her about her father, and she began to smile and talk. He asked about mutual acquaintances, and she became still more animated and chattered away, giving him greetings from various people and retailing the town gossip. Countess Apraxina, poor thing, has lost her husband, and she has cried her eyes out, she said, growing more and more lively. As she became animated, the prince looked at her more and more sternly, and suddenly, as if he had studied her sufficiently and had formed a definite idea of her, he turned away and addressed Michael Ivanovich. "Well, Michael Ivanovich, our Bonaparte will be having a bad time of it. Prince Andrew, he always spoke thus of his son, has been telling me what forces are being collected against him, while you and I never thought much of it. Michael Ivanovich did not at all know when you and I had said such things about Bonaparte, but understanding that he was wanted as a peg on which to hang the prince's favorite topic, he looked inquiringly at the young prince, wondering what would follow. "He is a great tactician," said the prince to his son, pointing to the architect, and the conversation again turned on the war, on Bonaparte, and the generals and statesmen of the day. The old prince seemed convinced not only that all the men of the day were mere babies who did not know the ABC of war or of politics, and that Bonaparte was an insignificant little Frenchie, successful only because there was no longer any Potemkins or Suvorovs left to oppose him. But he was also convinced that there were no political difficulties in Europe and no real war, but only a sort of puppet show at which the men of the day were playing, pretending to do something real. Prince Andrew gaily bore with his father's ridicule of the new men, and drew him on and listened to him with evident pleasure. The past always seems good, said he, but did not Suvorov himself fall into a trap Moreau set him, and from which he did not know how to escape? Who told you that? Who? Cried the prince. Suvorov, and he jerked away his plate, which Tikhon briskly caught. Suvorov, consider Prince Andrew, two, Frederick and Suvorov. Moreau would have been a prisoner if Suvorov had had a free hand, but he had the Hofkriegs' worst schnapps wrath on his hands. Court war sausage schnapps council, Prince Bolkonsky's contemptuous name for the Austrian Council of War. It would have puzzled the devil himself. When you get there, you'll find out what those Hofkriegs' worst wraths are. Suvorov couldn't manage them, so what chance has Michael Kutuzov? No, my dear boy, he continued, you and your generals won't get on against Bonaparte. You'll have to call in the French so that birds of a feather may fight together. The German Palin, an ironical reference to P.A. Palin, who had been Governor-General of Petersburg under Paul, in whose assassination he took part, has been sent to New York in America to fetch the Frenchman Moreau. He said, alluding to the invitation made that year to Moreau to enter the Russian service, "Wonderful. Were the Potemkins, Suvorovs, and Orlovs Germans? No, lad, either you fellows have all lost your wits, or I have outlived mine. May God help you, but we'll see what will happen. Bonaparte has become a great commander among them." "I don't at all say that all the plans are good," said Prince Andrew. "I'm only surprised at your opinion of Bonaparte. You may laugh as much as you like, but all the same, Bonaparte is a great general." "Michael Ivanovich," cried the old prince to the architect, who, busy with his roast meat, hoped he had been forgotten. "Didn't I tell you Bonaparte was a great tactician? Here he says the same thing." "To be sure, your excellency," replied the architect. The prince again laughed his frigid laugh. "Bonaparte was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He has got splendid soldiers. Besides, he began by attacking Germans. And only idlers have failed to beat the Germans. Since the world began, everybody has beaten the Germans. Tell that to the Prussian Empire while it stood. They beat no one, except one another. He made his reputation fighting them. And the prince began explaining all the blunders which, according to him, Bonaparte had made in his campaigns and even in politics. His son made no rejoinder, but it was evident that whatever arguments were presented, he was as little able as his father to change his opinion. He listened, refraining from a reply, and involuntarily wondered how this old man living alone in the country for so many years could know and discuss so minutely and acutely all the recent European military and political events. You think I'm an old man and don't understand the present state of affairs, concluded his father. But it troubles me. I don't sleep at night. Come now, where has this great commander of yours shown his skill, he concluded. That would take too long to tell, answered the son. Well, then go off to your Bonaparte, Mademoiselle Bourrienne. Here's another admirer of that powder monkey emperor of yours, he exclaimed in excellent French. You know, Prince, I am not a Bonapartist. Dieu sait quand reviendra, hummed the prince out of tune, and, with a laugh still more so, he quitted the table. The little princess, during the whole discussion and the rest of the dinner, sat silent, glanced with a frightened look now at her father-in-law and now at Princess Mary. When they left the table, she took her sister-in-law's arm and drew her into another room. What a clever man your father is, said she. Maybe that is why I am afraid of him. Oh, he is so kind, answered Princess Mary. Okay, this next chapter is excessive. I'm not going to read it today because my dang head hurts. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. So I'm not going to read it because my dang head hurts. And I don't really need to read more than one chapter. And not in a hurry. There's no rush to these things. It's one of the most horrible things you can do to your reading experience is rushing through the pages. I remember distinctly, it was maybe 5th grade, that we took a test. And I was a fairly competitive person, but I was also around some particularly intelligent people that I was in classes with. And I remember having this anxiety that I wasn't reading as fast as I should be. And so I started trying to pick up the pace with my reading. And that's when I started to associate anxiety with reading. It does not matter how fast the book is read, so long as it's read. I still read other books after that. I didn't lose much of my reading ability until a jaw surgery in 2014, and then a brain injury in 2015 made it almost final. Even up to that, A Song of Ice and Fire got me through my grandmother's funeral. I guess when I grieve, I jump into things and I leave the world behind. And I read the entirety of the Song of Ice and Fire trilogy. Wasn't a trilogy. It was from Game of Thrones to A Dance of Dragons. And I read it all consecutively, one after the other. And that was one of the last series that I read before I lost most of my ability to read. Following that, I began to read Terry Goodkind's Secret of Truth series. The person who at the time I considered my best friend and I watched the Secret of Truth television show. And following that, why don't you be quiet? I'm trying to talk here. So my friend and I watched the Secret of Truth television show. I'm trying to see, and Legend of the Seeker, I think, was the name of the see, the TV show I think was called Legend of the Seeker, and the book series is called the Sword of Truth series. Starts with Wizard's First Rule, and I read that through, I think it was Pillars of Creation. I might have stopped on Pillars of Creation, maybe Naked Empire. I can't particularly remember, and that was pretty much the last. No. Well, was it before or after the Stormlight Archive? A friend of mine from work, a fellow fantasy enthusiast, he presented to me the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, and that was among one of the best books I've ever read. I think I read the first couple of books, and then I started to wait until it caught up, or until the series grew a little bit, so that I could continue to read it. Since then, I haven't really been able to read anything. The closest I've gotten to reading seriously, aside from this book that I'm using as homework to practice regaining my reading ability, is I've been reading a lot of Korean web novels, because they're, it's easy. The problem being a martial artist is reading a book about martial arts it's difficult. I'm a visual learner. So I'm not a visual learner. I'm a kinesthetic learner. I'm secondarily a visual learner, and I'm tertiarily an auditory learner. I think that's the only styles there are, but I'm a kinesthetic learner. That means I'm a hand-on learner. But considering these stories, there's no such thing as kinetic storytelling. Or kinesthetic storytelling. So if I have to choose between visual media and written media and auditory media, I'm going to choose the visual media. So manga, manhwa, and web novels are some of my oasis, my secret gardens of peace, because there's not a lot of writing there. So I don't really have to spend a lot of time thinking about what I'm reading, because that's one of the things I lost, is my ability to translate what's written into an image in my head. That's the main thing. And reading the web novels, it's much easier to see the actions. And it's just like, I remember when I watched Solo Leveling, when it first came out, or not watched, but read it. It was one of the most amazing things I'd ever seen, because it's just, I don't know, man. It's kind of how I live. I live solo leveling. I don't really have any friends that I train with regularly outside of classes that I go to. Like, I've never met a friend that I've taken home with me and, spent life with. Even my friends in the Army, like, once we weren't roommates anymore, we kind of didn't talk. And once we quit working, like, I never really talked to anybody. And, in martial arts classes, everybody's got their own life, and they just want to go and do their thing. But it's still the closest thing to a hangout session that I experience is my martial arts classes. But for a martial artist, having something like the webtoons is really nice, because it seems like it's fantasy, but I'm a soldier and a martial artist. So that's like slice of life for me. The only difference is I don't have superpowers. I'm hoping beyond hope that maybe one day I'll be able to, like, find some magic recipe of a training program, and achieve things greater than what is considered humanly possible. I intend to do research on this, but I haven't been able to do that sustainably. I keep finding little knots in my beard hairs. I don't know if you can see it. It's weird. I don't know how they tie knots in themselves. These have 2 knots. Oh no, it's got 3 knots. Four knots. There's 4 knots in this beard hair. Super weird. Anyway, like the same shit with this. These things just appeared out of nowhere. Like I said, I took the vow of the Nazarite when I was a little boy, and I just haven't been able to not cut my hair until recently. And this shit just shows up, man. It's like just what my hair does when I don't brush it. I don't know. Anyway, so webtoons are pretty cool because I learned a lot about Japanese culture from reading manga and watching anime. And I think that started with Toonami on Cartoon Network. And I never really learned a lot about Korean culture or Chinese culture. And reading the webtoons, the Korean webtoons especially, is interesting because I learned a little bit about Korean culture and the Joseon period. And I'm assuming that the Joseon period is similar to feudal Japan. I've read I've read The Art of War. So, my grandfather, when he was giving away his stuff as like an early inheritance thing, that's one of the things I took home with me was this big red bound copy of The Art of War that wasn't just The Art of War, it was also a history of the dynastic Chinese period and a history of China, and that was super interesting. But problem with the written word is it's the styles, the mannerisms, the traditions and things, they don't really pass along with the written word. So comics are kind of a good history lesson because they're easier to do than having a whole cast of actors, and you can do things with drawings that are much harder to do in live action. Like, take a look at Dragon Ball Evolution, right? The problem that so many people had with Dragon Ball Evolution is there's this thing in technological art, graphics design, graphics art, computer generated imagery called Uncanny Valley. Uncanny Valley is this area where it's just realistic enough to like it kind of looks human, but if you look at, there's something wrong with it. Like, it just doesn't look right. It's uncannily close, but it's not close enough to be human. And there's this feeling that wells up that it's a creeped outness. In my personal opinion, is maybe it's a reaction to some other species of hominid that was kind of like us, but also a little different, and maybe that's what causes the uncanny valley to. Maybe that's what causes the uncanny valley to be a thing. And that's one of the problems with AI is there's a lot of similarity, but I've been paying attention to graphics design my whole life, and there's still a strangeness to the AI. And it's not because it's the AI's fault, it's because we as programmers, and I'm not a programmer myself, I'm speaking as the collective of human technological innovation, or whatever you want to call it, we're not that good at it yet. But it looks like we're getting there, because we're getting to the point where people are questioning whether there's AI or not. Because, for example, I look at myself on screen. There's a strong possibility that there could be an AI filter between the camera and the screen, which would alter the video ever so slightly that I might not even notice, and you wouldn't know. Would be a man in the middle thing. So that's troubling. I forgot what I was talking about. Why was I talking about Uncanny Valley? Oh, right. So Dragon Ball Evolution. problem with that is all of the energy attacks and things, the graphics weren't very good, so it was obvious that they were not great. And the people who were acting, it was obviously choreographed. Whereas with the art and the anime, things can be done more precisely that a live actor may not be able to emulate a true martial artist. Because it looks different. Martial arts looks different on the screen, in my experience. I'm not that experienced, but I've noticed that like a lot of martial arts on the screen doesn't necessarily look like reality. I've noticed people who, through no fault of their own, trying to do things, it just didn't look right, and a lot of that had to do with their muscular imbalances and their biomechanics and things. Anyway, they'll do better. They'll do better. And it's kind of uncomfortable, right? Because how are we going to interact with these AI? Personally, I believe that we are designed to make AI. There's... So, to understand what I'm talking about, I'll use the metaphor of the termite, the African termite. Termites build mounds. Now, did they come up with the mound themselves? You can say that it was random. I mean, you can say it's random all day long, but that's only one argument. So I believe skyscrapers and AI are to humans as termite mounds are to termites. How does the bee know to make the hive? And why can't an ant? How does an ant know to burrow in the ground and build the many tunnels that it does? How does the woodpecker... not the woodpecker. There's one bird. I saw it on like the wild thornberries whenever I was a little boy. There's the one bird that takes a cactus needle and uses it to pick grubs out of a tree. How does it know to do that? How does the wasp know how to make its paper nest? It makes paper mache. How does it know to do that? Do you think that it has the intelligence to invent it on its own? I'm sure it thinks so. But we know that nothing else does it, and they do it by nature. You can separate wasps from anything that ever was, and it'll still make a paper nest. So I believe that humans are made to make skyscrapers and air conditioners and artificial intelligence and headbands that vibrate and heat up so that we can deal with our migraines on the learning journey as we destroy the earth with chemistry before we can repair it with chemistry. Because, you know, it's kind of like trying not to piss yourself so you shit yourself. Or trying not to drop an egg out of your hand so you'd stub your toe. You know, it's just like there's all kind of different things we have to learn. So it's going to take a while. As a society, as a race, the human race, we're kind of like feral children left to our own devices. And we discover like, hey, this mushroom doesn't kill us. We can eat this mushroom. It doesn't kill us. Or, like, oh man, if we grind up this particular plant, it makes our head quit hurting. Or,
if we heat up iron and add carbon, it makes the metal lighter and stronger. You know, a trial and error. It's like making mud pies. All we're doing is making mud pies, and we're making better and better mud pies, and us and the rest of the human primates are just kind of figuring stuff out and helping each other. So I think we're made to make AI, you know, and if you want to look at it from a biblical perspective, God said, let us make them like us. And what is he like? He created us, so we create. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I got anything more. I got this pain in my head, like Psyduck. I don't have Misty to help me with my pain. I'm a Psyduck without a Misty. So I guess I'm going to move on to the next thing for a moment. I'm looking at my face the way I would in a video game. So for some reason, for a long period of time, I would only smile with this side of my face. I don't know what happened. And what I think is I created a muscle imbalance from only smiling on one side of my face. I don't know why I started that. So I've been working on trying to fix my face from the muscle imbalances. I mean, I'm streaming myself now, so you'll see. And I do some exercises and stuff. So you'll see if you stick around. I intend to put these videos on YouTube as well as the streaming. So we'll see. You're joining me on my journey. I told one of my companions that I was thinking about starting a fitness chronologue, and I wasn't sure if I was serious about it. I'd only just started doing the game streaming. You know, I think I'd started streaming a game, or well, I started with it wasn't the Backrooms. I think I played that robot game. It was like a 2D isometric 2D third-person isometric shooter game where you were a robot running around or something. I think that might have been my first game. And I got back on for Backrooms, and then I was playing Starfield a while. I think that was one of the ones that really pushed me, because I think I'd had a death in the family, and I was in college. I can't remember. I've had so many deaths in the family that I've become numb to the idea of death. I still cry, but I just don't always process the emotions very easily. And I've been going to funerals since I woke up. I remember one of my first memories was going to my aunt's funeral. I had no knowledge of anything, but one of my first memories was a funeral, and I have a large enough family that I just kept going to funerals because people that we loved kept dying, and even though I didn't know them, you know, I loved the people that loved them, so I went to the funerals. Even though I never really could process death all that well. I never really understood it. I never really liked death. I remember being taught about death before I was in kindergarten, and I don't know, it just kept coming. Just regular deaths. I mean, but that's the nature of having a very old, very large family. Even if it's not exceedingly large, at some point there's going to be just death all around, just old age, disease, accidents, murders. I don't think I've experienced the funeral of a murder before. I'm thankful for that. That would piss me off real bad. Mostly unhealth and old age, which is one of the reasons I'm going to specialize in senior exercise. I want to be a gerimancer, and I want to make it clear what that means. A gerimancer is like a necromancer, but a necromancer brings back to life the dead. A gerimancer brings back to life the geriatric. I coined the term myself. I'd never heard it before, so I'm going to be a gerimancer.
I'm gonna raise the geriatrics so that the remainder of their life they can experience again. But I'm gonna do a lot of research to be able to do this. I believe the Bible when it says that the number of our days are 120 years. So that's the goal I'm shooting for myself and everyone around me. I would not like anyone to die before their 120th birthday. So I intend to work on that fairly severely. So might not be the best way to say it fairly severely, but it's sort of right. I've recently put in my application. Well, not application. I put in my resume with so when I purchased my education packet with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, it came with this thing called a gymternship, which is this 8-week internship. It's like 2 hours a day, 3 to 5 days a week, and I go in and there's like a structured educational experience working at a gym. I'm trying to find a fairly high service level gym to work in. I don't want to go to like Planet Fitness or something because the personal trainers there don't really, I've been going for a while. I don't know. If I'm going to spend 8 weeks working for someone for free, I want to learn from someone who like is a high value trainer, you know. And so I'm working on because I can do nothing anywhere, you know. I can start from nothing anywhere. I want to learn from someone who is very good at what they do, even if they're not an easy person to get along with. So long as they're capable of telling me what to do, I'm perfectly happy with that. I don't need ice cream. I'm fine gutting down some vegetables. I gotta add a little cheese though to make it guttable. That's what I find. If I eat vegetables with cheese, I can do it. Anyway. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So in a couple months from now, I'll probably start that gymternship thing. And then I'll be able to start my research on how to revive the old. And I'm broke. I need money. And if I have to do a job, I might as well research how to help people. I'm hoping to work with the geriatric and disabled veterans. I'm a disabled veteran myself. There are people who are far worse off than me. And personally, the physical therapists and the other people that I've encountered, they're not really that worried about the physical well-being of people. There's this idea in the VA that they won't treat people who aren't crippled, which is bullshit, because not all injuries are visible in the body. So there's this idea among disabled veterans that if they don't look unhealthy, they won't get their treatment. And that might be true, but if it's true, it's fucking terrible, because many injuries and disabilities have nothing to do with the body. And going to physical therapy at the VA physical therapist, the one on, I guess I'm not going to say who, they basically only wanted to rehabilitate me to the level of a geriatric. So no wonder these geriatrics are not regaining their youthful vigor, because the people who are teaching them how to do it only stop when they meet these metrics that's like, oh, that's good enough. Like, after I got out of the military, I retired medically. I tore a tendon in my bicep where it inserts in the shoulder. I was at because again, I have a lot of pain and things, but I don't have any structural disabilities in my body from the military. I have a lot of chronic pain. I have arthritis. I don't have any range of motion problems, or I didn't. I had full range of motion. I wasn't about to lie about this shit.
I don't have any range of motion problems, short of recent injuries. And I was doing fucking PT up until the day I retired because my brain was gone, but my body was still around. So I dove into my body because my brain wasn't working right. So I dove into my body. Well, I was at a CrossFit gym, and I was doing a handstand walking seminar because I wanted to learn how to do that. And I fell on my shoulder, and I am still not as strong in this shoulder as I was. Not anywhere near. I was like Monkey Man, you know, like I was doing monkey shit. I was swinging from, like I had gone to this CrossFit gym in Abbeville when my wife left because I needed to work out, and I was like swinging around like a fucking monkey and shit, and I can't do any of that now. It's been years. I still can't do anything from that. And the rehabilitation says that, oh, you got range of motion. Well, my problem isn't range of motion. My problem is that I have this weakness and pain when I do things. So I've had to basically rehabilitate it on my own. I'm just now getting to the strength that I was at around the time that I just joined the Army 14, 15 years ago in 2010. Yeah, 14 or 15 years. Following that, I busted my ankle at a trampoline park. The whole thing just fucking exploded. No bones broken, but there was soft tissue damage. And then, right after I got out of crutches for that, I broke the proximal phalanx of my right toe in a bicycle accident. Because I figured, all right, I'm off of crutches. Let me ride my bicycle to try to lose some weight, because I was already gaining weight. I fucking rode through this dip in the ground, in the road, and I flipped my bicycle. And my toe just boom on the ground, just boom, and fucking broke diagonally across the damn thing. And so like I have a gimp leg, and even with this one going to physical therapy, I was like, look, this shit still hurts, and I don't have nearly the range of motion. I was a martial artist, or I am a martial artist. I can't get into my stance with this leg. I can't put any power into my toes. I can't put any power into my feet. And they were just like, well, you meet the metrics for what we let you go from. And so I've been walking around like a fucking geriatric because they're not willing to heal me all the way. So if me, who is an ornery bastard, I'm not a real bastard. My mother made sure to tell me that I'm not a bastard when I was called that as a child because I know my father. So I shouldn't call myself a bastard. I'm not a bastard. I was raised by my father. Me, an ornery, conflictual, not always conflictual. I'm conflictual about things that I think are unjust. But me, anyway, this dude who's like not willing, this dude who's willing to tell people when they're fucked up, they wouldn't even help me, dude. Like, I was nice at first, and then I got fucking real annoyed. And so I decided I was just going to go get my personal trainer certification and learn it myself and help other people so that I could eventually fix my own body. But yeah, so the disabled veterans out there, like people who actually have structural injuries from the military, I understand why your body is falling apart because no one is there to care for you. Not seriously. If you're very lucky, maybe. I haven't worked with the Wounded Warrior program. I don't feel like I'm injured enough to want to go to the Wounded Warrior program, but I intend to work with them as a personal trainer once I get some experience under my belt and I have some better education. I intend to volunteer my services with the Wounded Warrior program. So we'll see, right? We'll see. That was a weird facial expression I did. I don't know why I did that. Sometimes I catch myself making gestures of other people that I didn't mean to make. But anyway, let's see how this goes. Geriatric to, let's see,
what's gonna be my slogan? I'm already gonna be Dad Bod Fitness because I made a joke. I didn't realize some things, but whenever I met my wife, I made the Twitter handle DadBod88. It might have been after my child was born or whenever she was pregnant for him, because I had 88 is not it. I'm born in 1988. That's what the 88 is for. I'm born in 1988. That's it. If you're wondering, I know there's some other connotations. I know there's some Nazi connotations, but the Nazis can go fuck themselves. I was born in 1988. You can't have everything, you fucks. Anyway, but there's also pianos. But for me, it's the Year of the Dragon, the Year of the Earth Dragon, 1988. Dad bod, because so look at this. There's something about that, right? So my buddy used to say I was strong fat. There's different types of fat. Strong fat is what he called me. What that means is I bust my fucking ass training. But because I bust my ass, sometimes I bust my ass and I'm injured to the point that I can't do shit. Every time I've ever gotten fat in my entire life, it was following some kind of energy that prevented me from participating in the level of activity that I was used to. And I eat a lot of food. So anytime that I am prevented from training at the level that I'm used to training, I balloon up very quickly. I've had enough injuries now that I've had to change my style of training significantly. To not just physical, I've had internal stuff that's been bothering me. I throw up if I move too fast. I don't know what it is. I get sick and I'll just start puking. Like, it's not good, man. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I'm not educated enough to understand why I just start puking whenever I move too fast or move too much. I don't know what I did. I must have done something wrong, so I'm trying to fix it. But anyway, I'm doing the research so that I can help you fellows later. I hope that I succeed because, I mean, I might fail. I am somewhat ignorant and inexperienced, but I'm going to try anyway. So I'll see you soon, hopefully. I'm going to continue training, continue studying, and once my shit is together, once my ducks are in a row, then I'm going to volunteer. Anyway, I don't remember what else I was talking about. My head hurts a lot. It's not a happy time. It's not having a good time. The heat helps, but I think I must have consumed something that is responding poorly to my system, or that my system is responding poorly to. So either way, I'm gonna get off for now. I might get on another game. I've been playing Fallout 4. I haven't played it in a while. I've had other things that I was doing, and I don't know. We'll see.